Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zenatan, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today, we got Bilgewater cards. We got a great champion today as well. Probably one of, in my opinion, the most powerful champions we've seen yet for the spoiler season. Not in the entire game, but just for the spoiler season. Today, we have the fish girl herself. We got Nami. So, why is Nami good? Well, first off, I like that she is a very open kind of champ. Not very restricted in terms of what kind of deck she goes in, what champ she pairs with. She seems to go with a lot of potentially different champions. But yeah, enough rambling about that. Let's look at Nami. We got a lot of cards to talk about today. And yes, I know there is the obvious way to build Nami, and that is with Fizz, which is arguably probably going to be the best way, but there's other variants in my opinion. So, what does Nami do? So, Nami is a 3-minute 2/3 with a tune. Pretty understated in all honesty for a 3-drop, but a tune kind of makes her a 2-drop, so that's nice. So, what does she actually do though? When you cast a spell, grant +1/+0 to the weakest other ally that isn't immobile. So this means that Nami will never be able to target herself, which is kind of sad, but it's fine. This is a very, very strong ability. And how do you level up Nami? Well, to level up Nami, you have to gain 7+ spell mana this game. She doesn't have to see you gain it, you just have to gain it. So extremely easy to level her up. And I'm a little scared because her level up is really, really powerful. What does she do when she levels up? Well, she's pretty much the same thing, except now, when Nami levels up, she gives you +2/+1 whenever you cast a spell to the weakest other ally, instead of just +1/+0. That's huge because of the health. Giving health is so big, especially for a grant. Even just a non-grant is fine, because we've seen that in the form of Grand Plaza, and because Grand Plaza was only a temporary buff. Leveled up Nami, in fact, honestly reminds me of unnerfed Veiled Temple that's easier to remove and doesn't give you mana back, but the trade-off is you can activate this ability multiple times. It doesn't look like there's a limit on how many times per turn you can activate Nami, so you can keep giving something more and more and more health and more in attack, of course, as well for your elusives. And your opponent's going to have a really tough time if you have a lot of cheap, easy to cast spells. So I'm a little scared of Nami in all honesty. I'm also thinking of Nami in control decks, which I'll be honest with you, I think Nami control is probably the worst archetype you can put Nami in. I feel like she's more of an aggro tempo mid-range kind of card. But I like to try things with control. But yeah, it should be really easy to level her up. You have, thanks to a tune as well, thanks to a tune, you have things like Shell Shocker and Coral Creatures early on, just in Bilgewater alone. If you go to PNZ, you have things like Eager Apprentice, which, while it's not a tune, it does still refill spell mana, refills 2 spell mana. Nami herself has a tune to refill mana. You'll level her up really, really quickly. Like around turn, I'd say 5 at the latest, maybe even turn 4, you will level up Nami. So, little scared of her. Really, really scared. And yeah, also, of course, everyone knows like Zap Spray Fin has a tune as well. Zap's just a good card. More gives you more spells. I mentioned Coral Creatures, also more spells. So yeah, that level 2 Nami, you're gonna get it quick, and the payoff for level 2 Nami is crazy. Like, sure, +1/+0 on level 1 Nami is not bad, don't get me wrong, but the difference between getting +1/+0 and +2/+1 is huge. Permanent health will just make your board much tougher. Since the buff is always going to be jumping around to like whatever is the weakest at the moment, you're going to be like making your entire board extremely resilient to sweepers. The extra attack is just going to be icing on the cake, really, just pushing more damage in. It's going to be annoying. So I feel like Nami's going to basically depend on how fast she can level. I doubt she can level on turn 3. I don't think there's a mathematical way to make her level up on 3. But you can definitely level her up on 4. Now, how easy is it to level her up on 4? I have no idea. Also, like I said earlier, she is very, very fragile, especially before she levels up. And even when she levels up, she's still pretty fragile. Dies to things like Culling Strike, Ravenous Flock, Merciless Hunter, a lot of common removal. Sure, Culling Strike's not that common now, but it might come back in the future. But yeah, I like Nami. Pairs very well with cards that just give free spells, either in the form of spells that give spells like Sonic Wave, or just cards that give spells like Draven or Ballistic Bot. So I think there's a lot of ways to build Nami. Also, her champ spell. Champ spell is really good too. Before we get into that, as I was saying though, like she's also really, really good with just free spells, 0 mana spells. So like Warning Shot, which is in Bilgewater, Poro Cannon. If you're in Shurima, Lucky Finds are pretty cheap too. So yeah, big fan. Big fan of Nami. Me personally, I'm going to try to do Nami Lee Sin. I don't have much faith in Nami Lee Sin, but it sounds fun. And isn't that what's important? Having fun? And I just like how diverse she is. Like, she can go, in my opinion, in a variety of archetypes, while an aggro or aggressive strategy in general is probably going to be best for her. I like it. It seems like it's a very open design, open to a lot of different types of decks you can be played in. Just in all honesty, by herself, she's just a pretty solid value card in general. A 3-drop that has a tune and buffs your stuff. It's pretty decent. But yeah, I like her. I like her. Now then, what's her champ spell? Ebb? Ebb is well, actually, we can go to the next page because we can look at the other cards that are along with Ebb. So, Ebb creates Flow, which creates Ebb and Flow. Ebb is a 2-mana fast spell that says deal 2 randomly to an enemy or the enemy nexus, and then create Flow. Flow is a 2-mana, and these Ebb and Flow and then Flow are also fleeting, but 2-mana burst spell, heal an ally or your nexus for 2, and then create Ebb and Flow, which is basically the 2 cards combined. 2-mana fast speed spell, deal 2 to a random enemy or the nexus, and then heal something for 2. I like this card. This is actually an extremely strong champ spell. Probably the strongest champ spell we've seen for a champion in this season's spoiler season. It's perfect for a Nami deck. Just a repeatable, I don't know if repeatable, but is the word I'm looking for, but it's like a big spell that gets broken down. It's a card that lets you spam spells, if that makes sense, is what I'm trying to say. Like, so you're gonna get a lot of Nami triggers with this, and for some of the followers, support cards for Nami, they also like casting a lot of spells per turn. So yeah, I like it. I like it in non-Nami decks too. Also, another good thing, while it's not the first card, it is one of the few ways to heal yourself in Bilgewater, so that's nice. While there already are some ways, I believe, in Bilgewater to heal yourself. I think it's like Citrus Courier is the only way that I can think of. Having another way to heal yourself in Bilgewater is pretty nice. Now, sure, it's like 4 mana to heal 2, but you also get to hit them with Ebb. And secondly, you can also play an extra 2 mana, so 6 mana to heal 4, which is pretty decent. So, I like it. The only reason I'm not the biggest fan of this card is it's very RNG. Let's say your opponent even just has 1 unit. Like, they have a 3/2 on the field and like no mana, so they can't cast a combat trick. If you cast Ebb, it's still a 50-50 shot of you actually killing something. Like, sure, hitting Nexus isn't the worst, but you want to kill that 3/2. Like, there's a 3/2 on the field, you cast Ebb, you miss, you're like, darn, I really needed to kill that unit. It being fast speed, though, is also pretty cool, so I like it. It's like the way I'm looking at this is it's kind of like Make It Rain, but more RNG because it hits less stuff, if that makes sense. Because Make It Rain hits 3 things, this thing only hits 1 thing. But the trade-off is it does more damage, and it gives you Flow and then Ebb and Flow. But yeah, I like it. I think the best deck for Ebb and Flow is not a control deck at all, in all honesty. I think it is best for an aggro deck that wants to be putting pressure on, so your opponents won't have that many units left. So there will only be a couple of units that can be hit by Ebb. And that way, if it does go and hit the Nexus, it's still great because you're playing an aggressive deck, so a little extra chip damage is nice anyway. And then you can use Flow to heal up one of your units, to keep them high on health, to prevent them from getting hit by a ping or something. And then you got Ebb and Flow for a little extra value. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Reminds me of I'd say it's kind of like Bilgewater's Decimate. A little extra burn damage for aggro decks. It's kind of like Bilgewater's Decimate. It gives you a little extra burn damage, helps fight for the board, heals you a bit, just gives you everything you want. So I like it. Now the next card, I don't like it. Abyssal Guard. 4 mana, 2/3 fearsome. Terrible stat line. When you cast a spell, he gets +2/+0 for that round. So it's not a permanent buff. It's only a temporary buff. Fearsome's nice. Don't get me wrong, it's a pretty solid keyword, but this card is just overcosted, I think. If this card costed like 3 mana, I'd be actually excited to play this card. But 4 mana, it's just too much because you gotta actually pay the 4 mana to get it on the field. And then you gotta pay more mana or use more cards at least to cast the spells. I don't know. I feel like it just comes down one turn too late for the fearsome keyword to matter too much. And sure, with the way it's worded, I assume you can get that +2/+0 multiple times per round because it doesn't say like for the first time you cast a spell, etc., like only the first time or something. So I'd assume you could get it multiple times, but even then, I'm not that crazy about it because if you play this, your opponent's gonna block this if they can, of course. If they have a fearsome blocker, you block this thing. This thing is scary because if you don't block Abyssal Guard, your opponent is going to love that. They're going to be like, oh, wow, they didn't block Abyssal Guard. Let me play a bunch of cheap spells now and make like 8/3 fearsome instead. So, yeah, I don't know. Don't really know what kind of. And then, I don't know. Maybe if it had a tune, because it's obviously meant for a spell-based deck, but I don't know. I think Zap's just better, really. Overall, Zap is just better, even for the aggro decks for the 4-drop slot. Zap gives you a nice aggressive unit, well, somewhat aggressive unit, annoying aggressive unit in the form of the 2/2 elusive. A tune helps you get some of the mana back. It helps you get some resources back because he draws or she draws a spell. So yeah, you could argue you could play both, but I just don't like this card at all. Now, that's all for this page. 2 more pages to go. So, Avatar of the Tides. I don't know at all how to evaluate this card. 6 mana, 4/5. Kind of a bad stat line for a 6-drop. If you would get a mana gem, instead refill your spell mana. When you cast a spell, create in hand a random spell that costs 3 or less and give it fleeting. That's a lot of value, but there's a couple of problems here. 1, 6 mana is a lot of mana, don't get me wrong. 2, it's kind of capping you. Like, as long as this card's on the field, you're not getting more mana. Like, you're permanently going to be stuck at, like, let's say you play this on 6. You're stuck, as long as this is on the field, you're stuck at 6 mana. Now, here's the question I have, because I don't think it would work this way, but I could see it working this way. What if you have 10 mana? So you have all 10 mana gems, and then you play this card. Would it work? Like, if you have 10 mana, because you're not technically getting a mana gem when you start the next turn 11. Because you're not getting a mana gem, so I think you won't refill your spell mana if you have 10 mana while you have this card up, because you're not technically getting a mana gem, and since you're not getting a mana gem, you shouldn't refill your spell mana. That's how I'm reading this card. But if you do get spell mana even though you have 10 mana, then this card has some potential as like a really, really late game closer. So I could see like you wait till turn 10, you play this, and then you just get an insane amount of value by casting a spell and getting a lot of fleeting cheap cards. Now the question is, what deck wants that? I think the Nami decks and the Fizz decks will be done with the game before turn 10 happens. But it does have a weird place. I'd say it fills a niche, which is late game value engine. And while 6 mana is a lot of mana, that's not that expensive compared to other late game oriented cards. And if it doesn't work at 10 mana, like I think it, like I'm saying, I don't think it will work at 10 mana. And if it doesn't work at 10 mana, just play it at like, I don't know, 9 mana instead. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like the card, but I can see how you would play this and what kind of role it plays in a deck. I just don't know if any deck wants this kind of card. Now, speaking of cards, though, that decks want, a lot of decks are going to want this next card. Fleet Admiral Shelly. 5 mana 3/3, attune, and elusive. Already pretty good keywords. Pretty bad stat line, though, for a 5-drop, but let's see what it does. For every 2 spells you play in a round, grant other allies +1/+1. This card's nuts. This is like, this card, so I was talking about like finishers and late game for Avatar. Fleet Admiral Shelly is your finisher, your late game engine, in my opinion, for all of those Nami decks. And the way it's worded, I assume that every time you play 2 spells, you're getting +1/+1. It's not, I assume it's not limited to once per turn. So if you play 4 spells, you're getting +2/+2. You're not just getting the first +1/+1 for the first 2 spells, and the next 2 spells don't give you anything. I assume you're getting another +1/+1. So I don't know. Buffing your entire board by +1/+1 is scary. Is a permanent buff too. So, you know, it's kind of like Poppy or a card that's in the game right now, Bannerman. I think Bannerman buffs himself too, but I can't remember. I haven't seen that card in forever. I actually think Bannerman doesn't buff himself anymore. I think he used to, and then they nerfed him by making it so he doesn't buff himself anymore. But yeah, this card is crazy. The attune also helps synergize with Nami by letting you gain a spell mana to try and level up Nami if you haven't leveled up Nami by the time Shelly comes out. That spell mana you get from the attune can also be used to cast the 2 spells you need. So this card's a little scary. Like, I'm terrified of this card in all honesty. Thankfully, Shelly doesn't buff itself. Shelly has a low health cost or health pool for a 5-drop and it just in general, so a little easy to remove, but I feel like if your opponent gets at least 1 +1/+1 buff, which isn't too hard thanks to fast spells and burst spells and focus speed spells, they're happy. And if they get more and more, like anything past the first +1/+1, that's insane value. Anyway, from cards we were happy about to cards that I don't even know why they exist. Journeying Sandhopper. 3 mana 4/3 attune. That's it. There's not much to talk about this guy. Why? Why does he exist? The only reason I think Journeying Sandhopper exists is for Expedition. I feel like this card is literally just here as filler for Expedition because I don't think a single deck, no matter what, whether it's aggro, mid-range, or control, will play this card. 4/3 for 3 is not a terrible stat line, but 4/3s for 3 usually need something else going for them, and attune's not enough. You need like a good aggressive keyword, so think like Overwhelm, so Iron Ballista. I use it all the time, but Merciless Hunter is a prime example of just a good card in general, but that's because it has everything going for it. Decent stat line, which is the 4/3 for 3, but then good keyword in the form of Fearsome, and then the whole giving something vulnerable. Just compare this card to Merciless Hunter, and I know it's a little unfair to compare it to Merciless Hunter, one of the best cards in the game at the moment, but still. This guy looks a little sad compared to Merciless Hunter, even compared to other 3-drops that aren't as good, like Iron Ballista. Or let's think more value-oriented, Solari Priestess or something. I'm not a fan of this card. The only thing, like, only value I can really see is like a tune helps to level up Nami, and that's it. But yeah, I don't know. I can only really if this card sees any constructed play, I think it's only going to be seen in like Nami decks or decks that really want to curve out but also get spell mana. Because it does fill a niche. It's like now you do have like I think this might be the first 3-drop with a tune, so it does fill that niche, but I'm not too impressed by this. So yeah. Now the next card though, I'm also scared of. Mirai Songstress. 2 mana 3/2. Very easy to evaluate card here in my opinion. When I'm summoned, if you've cast a spell this round, grant me elusive. That's so good. 3/2 elusive for 2 mana basically. And yes, it is conditional. Don't get me wrong. That's a very conditional elusive, but I don't think it's that hard. Like I really don't think it's hard to activate this card. Like let's say you're in Bandle City. Turn 1 Otterpuss, it has a tune. You get the prank. Pranks are 1 mana. Turn 2 prank and then songstress. That's all right. That's a great start. You've gotten the 3/2 elusive and you've pranked them, so their hand's a little bit worse. You also have access to like Shell Shocker since you're Bilgewater. Bandle City means, I guess. Well, no, I was gonna say Yordle Squire, but Yordle Squire doesn't have a tune, and I'm pretty sure the Tiny Spear and Tiny Shield are 1 mana. But yeah, you also have, I guess, like Trinket Trade is another cheap 1 mana burst speed spell in Bandle City. You got Warning Shot, of course, in Bilgewater. Poro Cannon from PNZ. I feel like there's enough cheap activators for Mirai Songstress to come down as a 2 mana 3/2 elusive. So yeah. And here's the thing. Worst case scenario, this is a 3/2 for 2, which honestly is not terrible. Like if you just need to get on the board, like you're obviously an aggro deck if you're playing Mirai Songstress, or at least an aggressive style deck. If you're against another aggressive deck, sometimes you can't just skip a turn. Sometimes you'll just have to play this as a 3/2 to trade with their 3/2, like their, I don't know, their Grenadier or something. So that's pretty good. I don't think this is gonna be a thing, but there is a cute thing I've noticed you can do with this, and that is Songstress is a 2-drop that cares about casting a spell. Targon has Crescendum, which pulls out 2-drops, and Crescendum's a spell, so you can Crescendum this out of your deck. That's pretty cool, I think. I don't know how viable that is because Targon's kind of garbage, and 3 mana Crescendum's pretty meh, but yeah, who knows? Next card though, Mirai Warden. I've seen a lot of people go back and forth on this card. I think this card's good. I don't think it's busted, and I don't think it's unplayable garbage like I've seen some people say. Mirai Warden is a 2 mana 2/1 that says, when I'm summoned, summon a random 1-cost follower. So a lot of people are like, wow, it's Petty Officer creep. And a lot of other people are like, wow, this is just worse Petty Officer. I don't look at it as better or worse at all. I look at it as a less flexible Petty Officer, but the trade-off is it's cheaper. So, Petty Officer is a 3 mana 3/1. So for the trade-off, you're getting 1 less attack, but it costs 1 less as well. And you also lose the ability to choose powder. I don't know. I like this card though. I don't know. I don't think this is gonna be a staple card though. But I am a big fan of this card. I especially like this card in decks that want to go wide. Like it really helps you do that. But here's the other thing. Bilgewater has those cards already. Between Petty Officer and Island Navigator, and now we have Mirai Warden. Bilgewater has a lot of ways to go wide very, very quickly. But honestly, that's the only kind of deck I think you can play Mirai Warden in, is a go wide swarm style deck. Honestly, if it weren't for the fact that Mirai Warden had 1 health, I'd like this card so much more because I look at this and I'm like, wow, it's like Bilgewater's House Spider, and House Spider is a pretty solid card. It's just that 1 health. I always see 2-drops with 1 health, and I'm always like, oh man, 2-drops with 1 health. I hate those. They are so fragile. But yeah, I don't know. Especially when Make It Rain's popular too. 2-drops with 1 health in a Make It Rain meta is always a little meh. Anyway, last page. Only about a couple more cards, I believe. Yep. Mirai Great Mother. I think this card is bad overall, I'll just say that, but I do think there's something cute you can do, which I'll mention later. What does Mirai Great Mother do? 4 mana 3/3, which is kind of bad for the cost, but not terrible. We have things like Yordle Grifter. When I'm summoned, create 5 random 6+ cost spells in your deck and lower their cost to 3. So, this is, in my opinion, not competitive. I don't know, like it's gonna be weird. It doesn't seem like it's restricted to your regions like some other spell creation cards, so you can get like, I could see you getting like Field of Rush, Sky's Descend, like those are the big wow I win kind of cards, but there's also some bad expensive cards too. But I do think that there is something cute you can do. I have no idea how viable this is, but Zap Spray Fin tutors up cards that cost 3 or less. These 6+ cards, or 6+ plus cost cards are going to be 3 mana. So Zap will tutor them up. Now, does that mean you played no other cards, no other spells that cost less than 3 or less? I don't think so, but that is definitely something to think of. I don't know. I feel like, so here's my issue. At her heart, Mirai Great Mother is a 4 mana 3/3 do nothing. And I'm not a fan of it. It's not helping that much. Like, the Great Mother's not helping that much in fighting for the board. It's not giving you great card advantage right away. So I don't know. I feel like this is definitely going to be a, I don't know if I would say it's a build around, but you definitely have to think about this card when you're building a deck. You can't just shove this card into a deck and be like, oh, the value though. And even then, you still might just RNG into some bad spells. So yeah, I don't know. And I'm not sure what kind of deck wants, like, what kind of champion pairs want to pair up with this deck. Of course, there's always like Karma with spells, Lee Sin with spells. Not sure though, but Deep Meditation with this is kind of cute. But yeah, I think this is more of a control card than mid-rangey card. So I'll try it out, but I'm not too big on it. Now, the next card. Tidal Wave, Crashing Wave, and Colossal Wave. They're all pretty much the same cards, so we'll talk about them all together. Tidal Wave is a 3-mana slow spell that says deal 1 to 2 different randomly targeted enemies and create a Crashing Wave in hand. Okay. And then, not in hand, in deck. If it was in hand, it'd be busted. Crashing Wave deals 2 to 4 different targeted enemies and creates a Colossal Wave in the deck. And Colossal Waves deals 4 to all enemies and the enemy nexus. Now this I'm liking. This is the card that makes me want to build Bilgewater Control. The first form is Tidal Wave, which is just bad Make It Rain. I'm also unsure if it can hit Nexus. I don't think it can hit Nexus because I think it would say it could hit Nexus because I'm pretty sure Make It Rain says something like deal 1 3 times to like different targeted enemies or the Nexus or something like that. This doesn't mention anything about the Nexus, so I think this only hits enemies, like units. Because like look at Colossal Wave. Colossal Wave also specifies enemy Nexus as well, but it doesn't target, so whatever. The other thing is, it is targeting, so Ezreal, like maybe TF Ezreal can come back. I personally am thinking of like a Bilgewater Ezreal Karma, and Karma doubling up all these waves seems cute. Like Colossal Wave reminds me of a cheaper Pack Your Bags. And then, sure, it does 1 less mana, but it costs 2 less compared to the 5 mana Pack Your Bags. I like it. And then you have like level up Karma on the field, and then you play Colossal Wave. That's dealing 8 to everything on their side. That's a lot of damage. That's probably going to be game over if you're able to do that. So I like it. So yeah, first form, Tidal Wave, it's pretty much bad, make it rain. It's slow. It doesn't have as many things. Can't hit Nexus. Crashing Wave is where we start to get a good card, though. Crashing Wave, hitting 4 things for 2 damage only, though. Not going to kill too many things. Now, here's the issue. The Crashing Wave and Colossal Wave are going back into your deck. You can, of course, wait to draw these cards naturally, but I personally am going to want to play some card that lets me actually find these. So whether that's in the form of Deep Meditation, I'm already in Bilgewater, so I'm definitely going to be playing Zap as a 3 of. So yeah, I'm liking Crashing Wave. Don't like Tidal Wave. I like Crashing Wave. And then who doesn't like Colossal Wave, unless you're an aggro player? But yeah, Zap is definitely going to be pulling some overtime here with all these cheap spells to fetch. Pretty good. I think it's a pretty good card. It feels like a I wouldn't say it replaces Go Hard in Go Hard decks, because one, it is more expensive for the first one, and the first one's not good compared to a 1 mana drain 1. But I do think unlike Go Hard decks, you don't have to build your deck around Tidal Wave as much as you do against Go Hard. So I could see the return of like TF Tidal Wave decks. Like I could see a TF Ezreal Tidal Wave deck come around. So I like it. I'm a very big fan of this deck. So yeah, Nami's pretty sweet. A lot of her cards look extremely great. I'm definitely going to have a lot of fun trying to make Nami control, even though I don't think Nami control is going to be good. I'll try my hardest. Anyway, though, that's going to be it for today's video. That's all the cards for Nami. I'd love to hear your opinions on these cards as well. Maybe you think some of them are great, or maybe there's some kind of mechanic I missed, like with, I don't know, Avatar of the Tides or something. Maybe you think Journeying Sandhopper is great for some reason I can't see. I'd love to hear your opinions and how you would build Nami as well. I think Nami Fizz is probably the best Nami deck, but I don't think it's going to be the only Nami deck. And if you just enjoyed the video in general, I'd love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can always go and check me out over at Twitch at twitch.tv/Senaton. I stream there pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next video, bye!